flying from Orlando to San Francisco, California. So it's July of 2019. It's time for me to fly out to San Francisco for another business trip. So I figured I'd take the GoPro along and kind of give you a look at what it takes to go from airport to airport. So here we are in the North Economy lot, which is my favorite place to park whenever I'm going to park at the airport and kind of make my way over to a flight. And sitting here, I got the window seat, Boeing 737-900, I think. You know, summer in Florida, especially Orlando, you get a lot of these storms that just blow in out of nowhere, and it's raining for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and then, you know, half hour later, you can't even tell it rained. And that was kind of the case here. Earlier in the afternoon when I had just gotten to the airport, it rained for like 10-15 minutes while I was in there kind of getting something to eat. You know, this was because I always get to the airport about 2 hours ahead of time. And so by the time we're actually ready to take off, you can hardly even tell that it had rained. But I think it did have kind of a cascading effect because a lot of the flights coming into Orlando that day were, I think, delayed. And then, of course, that backs up and causes flights going out to be delayed. And, you know, it's just a never-ending cycle. There's just so much air traffic these days, you know, with flights at all these major airports. And you're going to see here in just a minute where some of the planes are kind of backed up. Look at this line of planes right here. Just there's at least like 6 or 7 of them back there, and you know, we were probably every bit of 35 to 40 minutes late just because of the backup of all the departures going out of Orlando. So it's just one of those things that happens with all the air traffic these days. So it's finally our time to take off, and interestingly, I watched a video recently on YouTube that kind of described the takeoff process and some of those changes that you hear in the engine noise, and like once you get like about 1,000 feet off the ground, you know, sometimes it feels like you kind of sink back in your chair, or you feel certain things. And I watched a video recently that sort of described all of that, and a lot of it had to do with depending on the conditions at the airport and the airport layout and, you know, the topography around the airport, how much thrust they have to use in order to get you off the ground, and had to do with like temperature. And it's just kind of another testament to some of the really cool videos that you can find out there on YouTube. I forgot which channel it was on, but definitely pretty cool stuff. There are a lot of pilots out there apparently that maintain their own YouTube channels and get all into the different aspects of aviation, you know, like what it takes to be a pilot, their schedules, how much money they make, how, you know. Then Wendover Productions is really good. They do a lot of stuff that have to do with like the business of running airports and you know, all that kind of stuff. So there's just so much content out there about flying and, you know, how it works and how safe it is and so on. So I always find that stuff kind of fascinating, and I was thinking about that like as we were taking off, you know, reaching some of those critical points, you know, we're only like 1,000 feet in the air, and you know, and I always hear those engine noises sometimes and never really knew kind of what they meant. So that was kind of cool. So like I said, that's out on YouTube. I don't remember the channel, but if you search for stuff relating to flights, you know, like why the engine noises change during takeoff, or I don't know, something like that, you might find it. But once all that bad weather blew through there in Orlando, we had perfect conditions to take off. And it was a nice, smooth 6-hour flight over to San Francisco. If you're enjoying the video so far, please consider giving it a like. That really helps us grow the channel and increase our viewership. And if you'd like to see more videos like this and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do subscribe, change that notification icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new video. So this was kind of cool. I was looking at my app, the United app on my phone, and I was looking at the altitude trying to figure out, okay, how much longer before we land? And the airport, SFO, is so close to the water that it's similar to like Boston and a couple of others where you're just literally, you feel like you're about to land on the water, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's the runway, and you're touching down. So here we go, where you see how close we are to the water, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's the end of the runway, and you're touching down. So it's kind of an interesting experience. But the last time I had flown into SFO was January of 2019, so it'd been a few months. And I didn't know it at this point in the video, but they changed the pickup for Uber and Lyft. That whole process, they completely changed it. And so I go and we land, I go to get the luggage, and I'm used to going up to the departures, the departures level, because what they used to do with Uber and Lyft was whenever they would come to pick you up, they would just pull up to the departures level as if they were dropping somebody off, and then, the app would tell you, okay, go to this gate, number 10 or 9 or whatever, and that's where the Uber or Lyft or whatever would pick you up, and it's just very simple, very straightforward. They would tell you, go to the departures level at this gate. So I pick up the bags, and I'm like, okay, I got to go up to the departures level, and I get up there, and I pull up the app, and I start to, okay, let me find, here's where I'm going, UberX, whatever. And then the instructions on the app don't make any sense because it's talking about parking garage and like G5 or G4 or F4, F6, or just something like completely off the grid of what I'm expecting. So that was a lot of fun because there are hardly any signs that really kind of call out. There were no signs that called out Uber or Lyft. They just kept saying ride sharing. You see like this black one right here on the floor. And it kept saying, parking garage. But I'm not really that familiar with this airport. And it was just a little bit of a struggle to kind of figure out what the hell was going on because this was the first time I had flown out to San Francisco since all of this happened. All this change happened. It had only been 6 months earlier. So the bottom line is now you have to go down into the parking garage as if you had parked there. And, these signs are kind of in various places. I think they could have done a better job of calling it out because, I ended up going up and then going back down, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And I finally got to the point where I figured out, okay, I'm apparently going to have to go down into this escalator and down into this parking garage area. And then once you come across to the other side, you have to go all the way up to the top level of the parking garage, which is on deck 5, or number 5 on the elevator stop. It was just, the first time doing it, it was just kind of a mess. The next time I fly to San Francisco, which is going to be in November 2019 for the Dreamforce conference, which of course I'm going to film a lot of video at that. Now I kind of know where to go and what to do. So, it's one of those, the first time you do it, it's a little aggravating trying to sort of figure your way through it because you've never done it before, or the way you had done it has changed and you're still trying to figure out kind of the new procedure. So this here in the video is me finally figuring out, okay, I guess I'm going to have to go across here, and then I have to go up to deck number 5, and then I eventually had to ask this lady kind of like, where am I supposed to go? Because it didn't dawn on me that the different things up there are like kind of the areas out on the upper deck where you stand. And I guess in the Uber app, you could kind of pick which one you want to get picked up at. So definitely a learning experience for me. But when I go next time, I'll be good to go. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a like. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and change your notifications and the bell icon so that you'll be notified every time I post a new video.